Hello guys, back again. So this is the second of my 3 videos that I'm going to be doing on D-Day or the Normandy landings in popular culture. So my last video was on Medal of Honor Allied Assault, which was a video game that came out in 2002. For this video I'm going to be doing essentially the kind of sequel to that, the sort of updated version of that, which is from Call of Duty World War II, which came out in 2017. So if you haven't seen the Medal of Honor one, please go back and see that. I will sort of be talking a little bit about that as well. And of course, as I mentioned, there'll be a video after this one too. So where to begin? I mean, I played Call of Duty World War II closer to when it came out, and it's very interesting that I remember playing it at the time and sort of thinking, well, I mean, this looks a little bit nicer than Allied Assault, but it didn't quite grab me in the same way that Allied Assault did. But you know, in sort of doing research for these videos, I went back and I played Call of Duty World War II again, and this was after having sort of seen a bit of the Allied Assault Omaha Beach level again and sort of how it looked in 2002. And you know, I mentioned in the video about Allied Assault that it was kind of you were getting to that point where video games could start providing a kind of experience that that was comparable to big budget Hollywood movies with soundtracks by people like Michael Giacchino, who's done movie soundtracks, and which were quite cinematic. And you know, I mentioned a few things like the sort of the lack of violence, very PG-13, and the experience of being in the landing craft as you're heading towards Omaha Beach, with the men around you, somebody throwing up, the landing craft to your left blown up, and you know, and it was an incredible experience. But going back and playing COD World War II and that opening level, I have to say I appreciate it a hell of a lot more after revisiting Allied Assault again. You know, COD World War II came out in 2017. That's a whole 15 years of advancement in video games. And within that time, you know, video games at this point now are the single largest entertainment medium. Video games make more money than music, they make more money than Hollywood movies even, and the budgets of some of these games, and this includes games like Call of Duty, are comparable to big budget movies. You know, I don't know what the budget of COD World War II was, but you take something like GTA 5, which came out in 2013, I think it had a $230 million budget and a $40 million marketing budget. So you know, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, and I would bet that COD World War II cost at least $100 million to make. The opening cinematic of the game is really good. It's got a theme tune from a composer whose name I forget now, but it was really good. It's a great piece of music. I think the sort of opening dialogue is a speech from, I think it's Winston Churchill, and it shows the Luftwaffe flying over London. They show Big Ben or Elizabeth Tower as they're bombing London, and that kind of transitions into a you know, an American signing up to fight in World War II, and transitions to him kind of putting on his helmet and with his rifle standing in those landing craft. And there's a beautiful shot in that opening cinematic of the landing craft sort of, and you're sort of looking down on them, and you can see there's dozens of them heading towards. Now, of course, there were more than dozens on the actual D-Day, but dozens of these craft in that one shot heading towards the beach with aircraft above them. And it looks amazing. The music is fantastic. And just to top it off, you've got the actual audio from Roosevelt, US President's speech on June 6, 1944, about you know, sending our sons to preserve our civilization, and you know, their souls will be shattered by the violences of war. You know, he's preparing the American people. He's preparing citizens of his country for what is about to happen, and what was happening at that moment. You know, as I mentioned before, this is the largest naval invasion in all of history, and I think it's just a really fantastic intro cinematic with the music and everything. And Call of Duty World War II, as I said, probably you can tell it had a very big budget. It also has some minor Hollywood actors in it as well, so it's got some decent voice acting. And getting to the actual, you know, Omaha Beach level itself, there's a kind of a little bit before we were on a ship with some of your fellow squad leaders, and I guess it's a bit of character development where your character is talking about the other guys that you're serving with. But it starts near enough straight away at the beginning of the game that you're on the landing craft, you're around the same men that you've just been introduced to in the game, and watching the Medal of Honor Allied Assault Omaha Beach level and the 2017 COD World War II Omaha Beach level, it's night and day. I mean, it's 15 years difference. So, you know, you've had 15 years of Moore's Law, you know, a doubling of computing power every 2 years, and it looks incredible. It looks incredible. You know, it's not just you in the landing craft with these men now. You can see the other landing craft as you could in Medal of Honor Allied Assault, but the detail is so much better. Not just that, there are some large warships as well. You look to your left and there's a large, I don't know what it is, a destroyer, a cruiser, whatever it is. You can see the kind of balloons. They look like, the balloons which were meant to stop, I think, the Luftwaffe from attacking those ships. That's the German Air Force at the time. And I mentioned, I think, in the last video that in Medal of Honor Allied Assault, you're looking around and then you look to the left, and because there are explosions around you now, because the Germans are hitting you with artillery. And the ship to your left blows up, and then Allied Assault, of course, 2002, you know, you see the men fly up into the air and you're like, oof, you don't want that to be you. But the way it looks in COD World War II looks incredible. It's so much more powerful. Just the way that it looks, the explosion, the bodies flying out of the craft. You know, it's a lot more cinematic. The men are kind of talking in the ship as well. And there's a moment where you hit the beach. A bunch of men are cut down, of course, and you have to jump over the side of the ship and then start making your way up the beach. And just everything, I think the sound design, the graphics, the voice acting, everything about it is an improvement, of course, on Medal of Honor Allied Assault, because the budgets are bigger, you know, the computer graphics are better because the computing power, you know, GPUs are also better as well. And, you know, it's very similar in that, you know, you don't want to pop up your head for too long, because if you do, you're going to get hit by an MG42 and you're going to get taken out quite quickly. So you need to use the tank traps as your cover. And one of the major differences between this game and Allied Assault is that this is not a PG-13 game. This is not a PG-13 game. There is blood, there is gore, there is violence. There's a moment where, I mean, even in the ship, they're talking about the Bangalores. Make sure you get those Bangalores to get past the shingles, right? The barbed wire at the sort of the top of the beach that you need to blow up so that you can make your way up to the MG42 German machine guns, which are raining hellfire down on you. And, you know, somebody yells an order at you and says, hey, you know, get those Bangalores. And you go to get the Bangalores, or your character gets the Bangalores, and you know it's under the body of a man who's dead, and his arm has been blown up and he's covered in blood, and you have to kind of lift him up and then get the Bangalores, and then start making your way up the beach. So this is already quite different to Medal of Honor Allied Assault, and you know, eventually you make your way up, and it's very similar to Medal of Honor Allied Assault. It's the same thing. You're trying to get to the shingles, and I can't remember if you're the one who puts the Bangalores together or if somebody else does it, but you know, they're kind of thrown over, and then it blows up the shingles or the barbed wire, and then you begin going through the trenches and the sort of the network of tunnels that lead to the bunkers. And yeah, I think there was also a moment in the game where just before you get to this moment, you know when you're looking around and you're seeing people sort of flung into the air, you know, you're seeing people with limbs missing, you're seeing blood, you're seeing lots of gore. And so this is obviously a game that's aimed at an older audience, or at least is, you know, more appropriate for an older audience. And really powerful stuff. I think, you know, you've still got all the same sort of sound effects, and you still have that ping from the M1 Garand and stuff like that, and you start making your way through the bunkers. And I think you have to, you know, one of your missions is to clear the bunkers, and so you're killing Nazi soldiers as you're going through those bunkers and those trenches. You know, once again, it's a video game, you know, and it's an arcadey video game. It's not a soldier sim, like something like, let's say, Operation Flashpoint. So Operation Flashpoint, which came out in the early 2000s, was a soldier sim. So what that meant is that you could die with a single shot. If you're fortunate, you'd get hit with one bullet and you'd survive. But if you did, your aim would be kind of off. You know, your reticle would be moving around. You'd be moving much more slowly because you couldn't, you can't run anymore. But this is not that. This is not a soldier sim. This is a cinematic sort of arcadey. It's a Call of Duty game. That's what it is. And there's sort of a timer on one of your squad mates, and it shows on the right, where if you start running out of health because of course you're getting shot, then you can just, you know, on the PC you press N and he gives you a med pack, and of course you just heal yourself, and you heal yourself within a few seconds. And of course that's not the way it was actually on D-Day. And I think, you know, once again, this is going to sound very strange that a video game like that, where you can get shot and, you know, your health bar just goes down and then it's fine because you can get a med kit anyway. In a way, I felt like it is a good way of learning a little bit about D-Day and the Normandy landings, just because of the number of times that you will die. Now, the issue with this is this, unlike Allied Assault, Medal of Honor Allied Assault, Omaha Beach was somewhere in the middle of the game. It wasn't towards the end, I don't think. And it certainly wasn't at the beginning. But in this, the opening level is Omaha Beach. And so they can't make it too difficult, because what usually happens in a video game is that it becomes more difficult as you play through the campaign. And so if I had one criticism of this, the Omaha Beach level is quite easy. It's quite easy. I died maybe, you know, a couple times before I actually got into the German bunkers, where, as in Medal of Honor Allied Assault, as I said, I died between a dozen or 2 dozen times before I got there. And so that would be one of my criticisms. I was going to say, if you're going to play this game, and I've not completed the game, but I might be inclined to play it and maybe make a few videos on the game if there's any demand from you guys. Pop a comment in if you'd like to see something like that. But it's a bit too easy, I would say, that opening level. So I would suggest that what you do is that you put that opening Omaha Beach level on the highest difficulty, which I think is veteran. And then you can you know, you can get through that, and you know, maybe you'll die a dozen or 2 dozen times, just like I did in Allied Assault. Otherwise it's a bit too easy, even if it looks and it sounds absolutely amazing. So I was glad to see the Call of Duty series return to the World War II setting. I really hope that they return to the World War II setting again. I don't think Call of Duty Vanguard was really all that. I'd like to see something more like World War II, and World War II sold way better than Vanguard did. So I hope that Activision, or I guess it's Microsoft now, go back to that setting and create an even more epic Omaha Beach level. Or hey, maybe create one from the British perspective. That would be nice to see, because, you know, every time I'm talking about this, I'm talking about Omaha Beach. I'm not talking about Sword or Juno or any of those others. But yeah, did you guys play COD World War II? What did you think? What did you think of that Omaha Beach level? Did you play both Medal of Honor Allied So and COD World War II? How do you think those compared? Which one had more of an impact on you? And which one do you think did a better job of portraying the Normandy landings? Let me know. Pop me a comment. All right, so this is the second of my 3 videos on the D-Day landings in popular culture. So I'll be making one more, and you can probably guess which one I'm going to be making. So I hope that you will also watch that video, which will come out very shortly. So beyond that, guys, thanks for making it to the end of this video. I hope that you have a pleasant day, and take care. Goodbye.